Just realized I haven't been living by YOLO. That's the best.
When you said that, it really hit me all of a sudden. I was like,
you know
wow.
what? Wait, save all of this. This is probably
sorry.
where we should start. Because I feel the same fucking way.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh,
Started streaming less than a minute ago.
Oh, I'm gonna have to
mute. Yeah, muting that.
All right.
I gotta drop the link for the Discord. Hey, everybody. Yo, link in bio, y'all. Check out the YouTube. We're doing the podcast right now. No. Sorry. Great. I've sent it. I'm looking at my face on YouTube and it's weird. I gotta arrange the thing so I can see the chat for them and you. Let's minimize that chat. Close. Did it. I did it. All right. Whew. How should we start? I don't know. I'm always like, how do they start? See, like if we had, okay, like I'm just gonna do it like if I had the music, like if I just had it, this is where I go. This is where I'd ride from.
That's our music. Were you gonna play actual music?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yo. Thank y'all so much for coming. This is
That's fucking awesome. It sounds like a real radio show, I feel like.
This is David and Sarah, and this is the Spiritual Friendz podcast. Thank you so much for rocking with us tonight. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
We'll just fade this out normally, but I don't have this on the thing where I can fade it, so it's just gonna turn off abruptly.
Fucking cool.
Yeah, that's how we'll crank it normally. Y'all, if you're watching on TikTok, please head over to YouTube and check out the live link where you can pay attention and chat with us there. I'm still gonna wait for some folks from the Discord to join the chat. Yo, what's up? Y'all trying to join that chat, yo. All right, fuck them. We'll get them when they get here. So what were you just saying? Because you just said something. I feel like it's a great place to start the podcast because I low-key feel a little similarly. Is that the word?
Who knows? Actually, that's so funny. Can I just quick tangent before we even start? The Staples parking lot. Oh, it's a Target now, but it used to be a Staples parking lot.
Relevant to the story.
There was like a printed sign that says like drive slow, and then someone added in LY. Which I just love. Anyway, because we were saying like, is it similarly or whatever? Anyway, okay. Cool.
Yeah. It's a.
So what you were saying was you were like, let's just go live like YOLO.
Yeah.
And then I said, I just realized I haven't been living my life according to YOLO, or that's not exactly what I said. I haven't been living my life YOLO-ish, YOLO-y.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point because I would say I had that same sort of experience the other day recently, and it hit me in a really interesting way. Why do you think that?
Oh my God. I mean, I think part of it, I have to keep reminding myself that we like have been in a pandemic for a year, and that like has an impact on how I feel and the choices that I make and what I do. Because I think I keep kind of forgetting that and just thinking, oh, I'm so like stuck and feel like I'm moving through sludge. Like, why? But I think like that's probably a big reason why. I don't know. I think I'm like very calculated and like averse to risk taking.
I
Risk
think I would.
averse.
I feel very similarly. I feel the same, honestly. I'm very sort of slow. I think I'm very sort of methodical, and I sit deep in my Capricorn energy on that.
Me too.
Um, and so I definitely will like. I'm the late bloomer of like most things. Like it takes
Me
me
too.
a long time to kind of get it. Like okay, like I'll okay, we'll see. And once I ease into it, I'll acclimate a lot of the time. But sometimes it does take me a bit of time to kind of rock with it. Oh shit, are you recording? I totally meant to ask.
No, but I don't think I have to. I think I can grab the recording from YouTube, right?
Absolutely can. That's much better idea than anything that I was saying. We'll cut this out. We'll cut this out.
But I could record it. Should I? No, I don't
No, no,
know.
no, 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 no. Don't worry about it. Your idea is much better. Yeah. So I think I totally do that sometimes, but to be honest, like I've always sort of never been in a rush. I've never sort of you know what I mean? That's kind of
Oh
the
my
energy.
God. You feel like you've never been in a rush?
Well, no, just like to get stuff done. Like I'll oscillate from being like I don't give a shit when it happens, and if it doesn't happen tomorrow, I'm fucked. Like that tends to be
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
extremes I play in.
I mean, I think it's like so interesting, right? Because that in some ways reminds me of just like procrastination. Like I think people would say, like, okay, you're just procrastinating. And I think there's like a negative connotation on procrastination. But now I'm like, why?
Mm,
Like, why is everyone? I mean, it's normal to be in a rush. Like, I think it's like socially accepted and like even socially like praised to be in a rush, because it's like productivity and busyness and like all of
yeah,
this stuff is like really praised in our
hustle culture.
culture.
Yeah.
But like, why?
Yeah. I think I saw a TikTok. A dude was like, man, like, wouldn't it be dope to just be able to exist? Like, if it was just cool to be a human, like, what would that be like? I thought that was really interesting.
I know we've gotten so far from it. So yeah, it's actually kind of I've been thinking a lot about this lately because as I was telling you before we started recording, I've been listening to this podcast of this guy who's really into like ancestral diets and like he's like obsessed with like the few hunter gatherers, left untouched by the modern world,
Yeah.
which actually is like kind of insane if you think about it. Now I'm just thinking about it, like how it's, yeah, wow, that some people haven't been influenced. And like, what must they think of like airplanes? Like, I don't know. I always think of that because they can't avoid airplanes.
Right? Fuck, I don't know. That's lit though.
It's so weird. Anyway, and they were kind of telling this, they told this one story of how they eat this like one bird's eggs that are like in this one tree or whatever, and they eat all of them. And someone had asked kind of like, oh, do you ever think of leaving some of the eggs or the birds to like live out their existence and like procreate and like, whatever. And the chief of the tribe was like, no, like someone else would just eat them. And they were kind of making the point of like, we're the same. Like we have this sometimes like idealized view of the past, and like how we used to be, and kind of being like, oh, we used to just like be so in tune with nature and we just like let nature live. But really, like we are like our human tendencies that we have now, we've always had, and that's why we're here. Like we've built upon them, kind of
Mhm.
like we want things to be easy, we want things to be convenient, like we are just trying to like get the most, uh just get the most, I guess, like accumulate wealth or accumulate like our need, getting our needs met or whatever. And so I've just been thinking about that a lot. I mean, I'm sure some cultures, experience that differently and have a different relationship with that, but just to recognize like the human tendency to opt for convenience and opt for like productivity and
Mhm.
efficiency and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like efficiency is I mean, that's we always go towards efficiency. Why though? I mean, we don't have to. That's just how, especially now we have so much abundance. Like we can slow down, it seems like.
Oh
Or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm
No,
saying?
I do, I do. I was like trying to, but I do.
Sorry. I feel like I
No,
didn't didn't explain it very well.
no, no, you did. I think that, yeah, I think that sort of nature of the slowdown or slowing down to a, I think a lot of it comes from the homogeny of the nature of kind of everything these days, right? We've kind of sort of homogenized the way of being that we think people are supposed to be uh, in a lot of Western society. Like these are the things, right? These are the
Mm-hmm.
normal sort of things. And in doing so, I think a lot of the time we can negate people's individuality and put our own sort of individuality on the back burner. I've been playing with this idea a lot this week of pace and noticing what it's like to slow down,
Mm-hmm.
to notice how so many elements of my daily life are like sped up
Mm-hmm.
because I'm working at somebody else's pace. I just, you
Mm.
know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's like,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. I was talking, so I've been like doing this whole declutter thing, and part of that has been like deleting old emails. And part of that happened because one of my only coworker really said, he was like, why do you have so many emails? Like I delete mine after I read them. And I just was like, what? Like I never thought of doing that. And
sure.
then I talked to him about it after, because I had like done this whole thing on Instagram where I was like sharing this whole like process on Instagram, and I was sharing some of like people's reactions and stuff. And he was like, all of those emails are someone else's like clutter, like, and someone else's thoughts. It's like what you're saying of we're always on someone else's time. It's like all of those emails are from someone else, like asking you to do something for them. It's like they're, which
Huh.
I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. I mean, yeah, it's like we're so conditioned, and maybe it's just like natural because we like want to be part of the group and
Sure.
not alone so that we die. Um, but yeah, it's just there's so much, I think, like giving up our own pace or our own, like what you're saying, individuality or authenticity for, or like inner authority for what someone else is asking for, especially if those people have strong like personalities, have strong rhythms. Like I think there's definitely certain people who sort of can like dictate things, and I think those people tend to be like fast paced, like intense people.
That's really interesting. I think so. I mean, you know, I was really getting, what was really becoming useful to me was noticing the sort of, um, somebody in the TikTok just wrote flow, individual flow. I love
Oh
that.
yeah.
If y'all have any like comments and stuff, please hop over to the YouTube. But if y'all have any questions or something, like throw it in the comment. I'll check it out over here. Yeah, I've been noticing it. I started shrinking it down to like a micro level and noticing just how um there are so many moments throughout the day which I perceive to like be like I need it to be fast. Like I
Mm.
need to rush. I need to, it's gotta get done. It's gotta get, and so
Oh.
often like, and so literally I've been catching that trigger and going, slow down, slow down. There's this like quote from this Mark Wahlberg movie, shout out to Marky Mark, Sniper, where they're talking about snipers. And there's a sniper quote where it's slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And but I've been noticing that like the more I've been slowing down and not being run by something else, and even noticing any sort of that tightness tends to come up for like little things. Like I noticed like a thought would come up,
Mm-hmm.
and the desire, like I gotta respond to this, I gotta figure it out right now. And it's just like slow down.
Totally.
You just watch it and it's like, oh shit. Like it really does. I love slowing the speed down. And I hope nobody from the Patreon is here from yesterday, because I literally spent like 20 minutes talking about this yesterday on the Patreon. But like it's
well,
really
we think about the same. We think about things, and then we just keep thinking about those same things.
You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, and I think what you're saying too is something that I have had sort of had this realization recently, which is like urgency. When you're feeling a sense of urgency, that can be an indicator that you're like in your thoughts and that you're not like present. I mean, that sounds like a tautology, almost like if you're urgent, you're not present. But if like you can kind of look for clues in like quality of thought
I love that.
To show you when you're like not be clear-headed, basically. And if you're urgent, you can recognize that and go, oh, I'm feeling urgency. That must mean I'm not in clarity. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Yeah, that's hot. That's real hot. Man, I love that.
Isn't that cool? I got that from my my life coach, Julie.
Oh, that's glorious.
Yeah,
man.
she like helps me identify those like triggers, kind of.
That's a great fuck, because it really is the opposite of clarity. And I've been noticing just how like little dumb shit, like being able to like, when I'm sort of in that sort of speed energy, I will definitely I can become careless. Like I'll knock things over, or I'll drop stuff. And like the more sort of in that natural sort of pace, when I'm not in that urgent thing, like even if I do knock something over, I can catch it like I'm James Bond. That shit is crazy. I'm just like,
yeah,
it's bananas.
It's really wild. For me, I think a lot of times it shows up as my thoughts going really fast and then my body like becoming paralyzed. Like I can't like do anything, but I'm like having like so many thoughts, you know? And then it's like I don't get anything done. But when I'm feeling really calm or I'm feeling really present, it's like I can get so much done, and I feel like I have all the time in the world to do things, because you just do something and it takes 10 minutes.
I know.
Like everything takes like 10 minutes. That's what I don't understand. And that's also why I have a problem with like this productivity and efficiency things. I'm like, really, if we're being like super efficient, everything takes 10 minutes and then we can all like go on vacation.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For those of you listening,
like how much are we actually getting done? Sorry.
No, that's exactly what I was about to
froze.
say. Oh, you didn't freeze for me.
Sorry, can you say it again? Because you froze for me. Will you say what you just said again?
I didn't say anything. I was gonna let you talk. I was gonna say about Sam is a really great example of that for me. She's like hella great at like time management and just knowing how long things will take for her, or just getting it done when it needs to get done. Just a glorious self-starter, and I'm constantly just kind of trying to emulate that as best as possible, because like I will spend an hour trying to send a email that takes me like 5 minutes to send, just because
God,
you know what I mean? Oh,
it's crazy. I feel like I've been, this is like, yeah. I'm glad we're having this conversation today, because I think if we had it any other time during the week, like I was in such a weird like headspace all week. And then today I finally was like, oh, I feel like a little bit more normal today.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like that related, but now I don't know why I did.
I think it totally does, because honestly, the reason I even arrived at the bit about slowing down was because me and Jake were both having a weird week, and we kind of stumbled upon it, and we stumbled upon it in a very sort of way that I don't think I want to put out there, but we both stumbled upon this simultaneously, literally simultaneously. Like he was like, so like on Saturday I started, and I was like, wait, me too. Like same day shit. It was like,
oh my God.
It felt like we were sort of forced to slow down, because we both noticed we were just going or imagining that we had to go so fast. And it was like, it was such a glorious moment. I really could elaborate so much more on the story, but I just don't want to do that, because I'm trying to be a role model out here for these kids. I can't be saying some ignorant shit as I say ignorant shit. But yeah, I think that we arrived at it because we were in a weird place, um and just it was such a great thing to do because it's like we didn't have to do anything, right? We're not like there was no fucking technique in that. It was just like slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
So,
And if you think about it, I mean, I think this is why getting into nature is so helpful because nothing in nature moves faster than it moves. Like
yes.
everything in nature moves at the pace that is like the natural pace. Like we're sort of like the only part of nature that is like fucking bonkers. Like,
You're
I mean,
absolutely
I
right.
think, is that possible
I
that
think so,
we're
man.
the
Oh,
only
look, I
ones?
guess not technically because we're not outside of nature. Technically, I guess we probably are moving at the right whatever. But I think what
That's
sets
even
us
crazier.
apart might be is that like our mental capacity, the way our mind can work, we can project into like the sort of future and like
Yeah.
create that sort of dissonance. I think overall, though, we can't really move at a different pace, but at least the perception of it can be distorted in a way, I think.
Yeah, it's just our experience of moving fast or of thinking fast or judging our judging ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was reading a comment. Somebody said, I was thinking today also, why do I need to always have a backup plan? And I
Mm.
think that mindset is the same as what y'all are talking about, the fear of slowing down as if we're not allowed to. That's
Oh
interesting.
my gosh. Wait, yeah, what was the last part that we're not
As if we're
we're
not
not
allowed
allowed
to
to?
slow down at all.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean that's what it is, right? It's like we're not allowed to. If that people will call us lazy or procrastinators or something
Right.
bad will happen. We won't get our stuff done. We'll be fired. We'll ruin our relationships. Well, I don't know. Like there could be a million things that you can think of that will happen on the other side of urgency if you don't like heed to it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's also like different for everyone.
That perceived, I think there was this weird sort of like floating perceived idea about like everybody's got to be a certain way.
Mm.
1 second. You can just leave it, man, please. Thank you. Oh yeah, for Sammy. She's in here. UPS.
Cool. Love getting a package.
Sam's asleep in the kitchen, in the living room, so like UPS is
Oh,
like UPS. I'm like, oh, bro, just leave it. The one time they're like, hey, let's talk.
yeah.
No idea what I was talking about. Jesus Christ, completely lost my train of thought.
Well, we were talking about urgency and feeling like we have to be.
Yeah. I feel like it's this weird sort of cultural weird thing that we gotta like write the great American novel. We gotta do all of this stuff. Like we gotta be this, standout, upstanding citizen with all these materialistic trappings, and then you've done it. And I think, despite from maybe a spiritual perspective, knowing that that is never going to make you happy, never going to be the thing that makes you feel whole, that validates you, getting all of that shit. I think there's still a sort of inherent residue that washes over us on a fucking daily basis, where we're just bombarded by this idea that you got to be a thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think that is this sort of underlying current that I do think things like nature help to kind of like let that go. I went on a hike today. Like I honestly don't even think I had time, but I made time because I was like, I fucking need to just not be in that headspace.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. Huge.
Yeah, I there was some other stuff that in that comment that I wanted to talk about.
The backup plan.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the backup plan. Because, I've been doing all this decluttering and I feel like part of the unwillingness of like letting things go and my attachment to things is like that common, like well, like, what if I need it later? Or like, I'm
Mm.
holding on to it just in case this happens. And so there's like this fear that I won't have what I need like at the time, or that I won't be able to get it. So I need to like hoard and like hold on. I mean, okay, so like squirrels do that, you know? So we're just like squirrels.
What? That's like a
Like
lot, Reppy.
squirrels like hoard the nuts that they get.
But I think the squirrel idea is that they're like they're like saving them. They're gonna come back for the nuts, but they always forget, like, or something, right? I think
Yeah,
it's
right. I
a
saw Sarah
statistic,
Silverman did a joke about that.
which is I thought was interesting. I've never, I guess, thought about the nature of attachment being like that as far as hoarding things. It really is sort of based in that fear mindset that you're not gonna have enough, that you won't get
Mhm.
enough.
Mhm.
Um, and a backup plan is the epitome of that
Mhm.
sort of idea, the pragmatism of it, or rather we hide behind maybe the pragmatism or the realism of, you know, in order to, if we're going to go for something, we got to have a backup plan to make sure that we don't fall flat on our face and so on and so
Mhm.
forth. But I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of antithetical to putting your full self into that. And I don't think anything that I've ever done that's been worthwhile in my life I've never been able to like do the backup plan thing. It's always like kind of all or nothing in one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this
It-
comes back to like the YOLO thing, right? Like in some ways I'm kind of reflecting and being like, am I just living my backup plan? Like, am I not living my plan A?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I think the curiosity of into who you are, knowing yourself allows you to settle into whatever is your sort of natural kind of dharma. Like what's your
mm.
thing? Um
Can you talk
yeah.
about dharma and like what it means and some of the I like sort of know I know the word, it means like service kind of, right? Like service from your own self.
I mean, in general, I think it's just kind of like your thing. Like it's kind of your thing.
Okay.
I'm not trying to not trying to have a Buddhist or a
Well, I
scholar.
didn't know if you have like if you've read anything on it.
No, I mean, like I know
You're
enough.
like, I mean, I know it intimately, like inside and out. I know
It's
everything about it,
everything
and
that
I
I
like
do
taught it in
is
past
your
lives.
dharma. Fuck no. Just I mean, in general, it's just kind of your vibe. Like
Yeah.
there are all kinds of factors that go into it that are very scientific, to be honest. Involving like different personality traits and
Mm.
Rogers Thomas and all this shit. But in general, you kind of feel like I feel like from what I can glean is that you kind of discover your dharma in an interesting way by being off yourself. To be honest, like I think I couldn't be curious about what was mine until I wasn't so obsessed with what wasn't mine, until I wasn't so obsessed with other people's expectations, until I wasn't so
Mm.
obsessed with my fears and my resistances. The more open I was and the more like I released a lot of those attachments, the sort of meanness that was inherent to me kind of naturally arose. So I could, instead of feeling like a shitty person because I was getting in trouble at school for talking a lot. And I was always been told, you talk too much, you're bop, 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 you're sarcastic, you're this and that. Instead of looking at those as kind of bad things, it allowed me to kind of step back and become curious as to, oh wait, there's something here. I might just like doing this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're good at. I mean, and you're good at it, and there, like, it has value, right? That goes back to what you were saying about just yeah, like the how we're all expected to be the same and like fit into this uniform, and
Mm.
obviously we were like conditioned to be that way in school if we went to like public schools. And I don't know, like
But I think it's
so
also a very a tribe thing though too, to be honest.
mm,
Like it's very, I mean, we're tribal creatures.
yeah.
And to survive a lot of the time, it was very, it's the move. We gotta fucking kind of moving together. That's helpful. But I think it becomes challenging when we are in such a massive sort of factoried out idea of what is supposed to be. It can
Mm.
turn, I mean, very quickly it's different if you're like, if it was a tribe of like 12 of us and we were all like, you know what I'm saying? Like we had a thing that we kind of did. We all ate this stuff. We all hunted this way. These things are useful. You kind of, and you can still sort of individuate, but I feel like we're so constantly bombarded by so many opportunities to disconnect from something that's useful to you.
Mhm.
And a lot of the time, it's not encouraged to step out and be like, this is me, until the people who do it, then it's like, yeah, be like that person. And I always find that to be fucking hilarious. People are like, think outside the box. No, not this box. This box, you gotta stay in this box. Now move from this fucking box. But and then somebody else is gonna be like, yo, man, there's no box. And you're like, yeah, I want to be like that person. No, that person, they're an exception. They're crazy.
Totally.
Stay your ass in this box. What?
Yeah. I mean, it takes courage. It takes courage to like peel those layers off and like live authentically. It's so interesting. I mean, I have been reflecting lately on how people have often said to me like, oh, you're so vulnerable, and that's so great that you can be so vulnerable and like share yourself, like that's such an asset, or like it's so inspiring or whatever. And it's just making me reflect on how I feel like I'm not being vulnerable. Like I don't feel like I'm there are places that are extremely controlled that are like preventing me from like truly being vulnerable or truly being I think authentic in certain ways, based on like, I mean, really it's a tribal thing. It's like I have these, this group of people who like gets this part of me, but I hide a different part of me. And then I have this other group of people where I like hide this part of me, but share like this other part of me or whatever. And it's like, I'm always, in some ways sort of like subconsciously managing like how people are perceiving me.
Well, I feel like we can take like we can take this and make it really positive though. Cause I vibe on this really hard. I fuck with this really, really hard. Today I did an audio about this Bible verse. In my father's house there are many mansions. And Christian mystic Neville Goddard talks about how this verse is really pointing to the idea that as far as consciousness goes, we're able to inhabit numerous, many incalculable states of beingness. And the sort of, and he gets into sort of Jesus and how the name of Jesus allows us to sort of leave a conception of ourselves that we had that we no longer need right now, and then move into another conception of yourself. You're essentially crucifying an ego and resurrecting into an ideal that you want to be in. And I think it can get easy to forget that like we have different states for different things constantly. Like that's just like everybody's not like, entitled to everything that like you're not gonna get what Sammy gets.
Right.
My mom's not gonna get the same me that that you get. They're just different, and I don't think it means being inauthentic, but I think it's just I'm gonna inhabit a different state now. Whether or not I'm feeling like I'm showing up fully as myself is whatever. But I think it's been useful for me to let go of the sort of rigidity of that malleability and being able to inhabit those states. And in doing so, and not thinking that I was being sort of inauthentic or wrong or whatever, it's allowed me to show up more fully in each of those states. I think I said it last week maybe, but when Sammy, I don't know if I did, but I was really worried about my voice when I was doing TikTok. And Sammy, my fiance, was like, yo, like, I was like, which one's my authentic voice? Like, how do I show up for these videos? Like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, how I'm gonna be.
Were you doing different voices? And also, can we like hear all the voices?
Like, they just come up, you know what I'm saying? So it's always, and I was like, I just don't know which one is the one, whatever. And she's fucking dope like this. And she's just like, I mean, you have options, babe. You have access to all these options. Be whoever you need to be whenever you need to be it, essentially. And I was just, fuck.
You know what it is? It's because we're all like trying to brand ourselves.
Mm,
Or that's what I that's what I
that's a
feel.
hot
I
take.
just made that like sweeping statement and then got like really insecure about making a sweeping statement. But that's
No.
like I've been thinking about that. I keep being like, I have this like sort of joke thing in my head that's been coming up that's like, who am I without a brand? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
what's my brand? Like, if I don't know my brand, like, do I exist? You know what I mean?
I
And I
love
feel
that.
like it's because you see all these, people on Instagram, I'm a total Instagram addict. And I like, follow these people who, to me sort of like have a brand. And whether or not that's on purpose that they like curated it that way, or it's just all of them and I'm just perceiving them in a certain way. It's like, it seems like they have a uniform identity. And I think, and maybe it doesn't even have to do with Instagram, because I think I've probably been, experiencing this like my whole life of trying to find like, what is my identity? Who am I? That question that I like used to ask all the time. Who am I? Like, what's my identity? Like, what it's really asking, like, what's my brand? I feel
Yo,
like.
yo, this gets me so excited because I think that this really comes back to sort of maybe a materialistic fixation or the idea that we could
Boy.
ever just be one thing. I think the desire to sort of categorize within constructs pushes us in the direction to kind of create things that are polarized, two-dimensional things when we know people are complex and interesting. That Instagram model who's got fake everything is a person. Like, and there are probably millions of aspects to this person that we don't know. But I think there's this overwhelming pressure that we put on ourselves to be able to give somebody something that they can define and digest, because we're aware that like when you show up as something that people can't wrap their head around, it makes them so it can make them uncomfortable and confused. Like it's something I noticed very early at the beginning of sort of my awakening process. People would, well, what are you? Well, what do you believe now? What is the thing? Tell me. Are you a Christian? Are you Buddhist? Are you a non? And it's like, I think we're obsessed with these labels, and branding, I think, is a logical extension of that idea. And I think the best thing that I am doing for myself is getting to discover what I enjoy doing and letting everybody else come up with the shit. Like, y'all can figure out what the brand is. I don't fucking know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I think people are uncomfortable being uncomfortable, not knowing, right? We talked about not knowing and how challenging that is for to sit in that state a lot of the time and be like, I don't know how this is going to go.
Totally. And I think like I am someone, as you were kind of saying that, like I'm just sort of like reflecting on my, history. I think I've like been someone, and maybe you feel this way too, that hasn't fit into a box. Like I think I've been someone who people don't really know what to do with me. Like I'm someone who is like a pretty jolly, like outgoing person, but like I get like
you're so jolly. That was the best description of it. Like, that's a brand right there. What are we even doing? Done. Podcast over. Jolly. End. That's fantastic.
It's funny because no one's ever described me that way, to me at least, and I've also never described myself that way. But it does seem to fit, right?
I would say,
like, I have a natural positivity, optimism, like whatever, but I also like get severely depressed and suicidal. Like, what do we do with that? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, yeah, and I think just I can be really humorous, but I'm also like can be extremely serious. And I feel like I even like don't know what to do with that, where I'm like, oh, I want to be like, I want to do comedy, or I want to be, but then I have like a tendency toward like seriousness and like sincerity. And it's like, like, how do I
used to hate that. I used to get that question all the time. Like, yo, man, what kind of TV shows and movies do you want to go out for? Like, are you funny? Or are you like dramatic? And it's like, bro. Bifurcation. Like I'm not two things.
You just like touched them on the forehead and they were like,
I just went into a lotus and started fucking floating, and I was like, "You tell me, bro. What do you think?"
light just like emanated from like their forehead.
Stop it.
And they saw God for the first time.
I don't know. Somebody wrote something really lit in the comments. Carissa wrote, "The little me wants to identify and define ourselves." Yeah, man, it's a true. Somebody wrote, Flash wrote, "It's a true balance. True, it's a balance." I feel that, not trying to define yourself for others. Yeah, man. Yeah, I think 100%. I would 100% agree. Because also, keep it a buck is easy. It's easier if I can just give you something like, "Yo, this is what I do." Like all of our, like even if we were gonna have somebody on the podcast, you'd be like, "Yo, give me a blurb about you. Give me give me the thing. Blah, blah, blah. Like, what's the thing?" So I think it is an interesting challenge, but I will say the more off myself I've been, the less I've been trying to define it, the more shape it's naturally sort of taken.
Interesting.
Right. And allowed the more shape it's taken, and the easier it has been for me to go, "Oh, well, it's probably something around this thing." But when I was setting out, sort of working backwards, I would call working backwards, trying to say, this is the thing. I was sort of trying to create the sort of egoic construction or an idea that I thought it was, and fit into that, like, "Oh, this is what it would look like to be a motivational speaker. This is what that would look like." And that was in sort of this weird inauthentic version, which I wasn't.
Yeah. That was my entire 20s, and it failed me. I mean, I failed it. We failed each other. Yeah, I mean, it didn't work at all. Like, it led absolutely nowhere. I felt like I was on this hamster wheel of just confusion and lack of identity and feeling just so distraught. I mean, and I still, it still comes up a little bit, but I've like thankfully moved past it a bit. But like, truly, that was like my whole 20s, where I was just like, let's start from the end and try to like fit in or create that thing. But yeah, that's not how anything, like a seed doesn't go like, "Okay, now I'm gonna be a tree." Like, it just like grows a little at a time.
Wow, you just hit on faith of a mustard seed. The nature of faith of a mustard seed. A mustard seed is only conscious of being a mustard seed. It's like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do right now. And that's the kind of space that it moves from. I love that, but I also like want to big you up, because it's like, I feel like you have so much information and data to draw from because of your 20s, because of that experience. It's like, that's something about, I think there's people who are able to try a bunch of things that don't work, and who are kind of unafraid to do that. It's a gift and a curse, because but I think the gift is, well, like, I know that I'm still here, and I tried all that stuff, and we can figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still here. Let's go again. Like, let's see what the next thing is. I think there's a sort of leap of faith aspect to that, even if it didn't sort of yield the results that we may have wanted.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time, I think like a couple of years ago, really sort of like leaning into this idea of like being a failure, because I had so much importance placed on success, whatever like my idea of that was, and to not sort of achieve that, and then to kind of really just like lean it, not to attach myself in like a negative way to being like, I'm a failure and I'll never do it. I wasn't getting like stuck in a hole, but I was just kind of like appreciating that, and like appreciating like ugliness and failure and these things that I have had, maybe an aversion to, or something of like, oh, I don't want to, be associated with like these concepts or something. And it's like so interesting too, right? Because it's like not I would never judge someone else the way that I judge myself. I like only hold myself to the standard. Like anyone else, I would be like, oh my gosh, like relax, like everything is fine. Like you're a human being, like just
I
be
literally
that.
read that in Think Like a Monk today. Somebody recommended it to me, and I was like, fine, I'll read a book. And one of the exercises he talks about is he got a group of girls together and told them to like write like some stuff about how they need to work on themselves or whatever, like write it all out and just how they, you know, think it is and what's wrong with them or whatever. And then they told them, all right, now you're gonna say this to your sister. And they're like, I can't say it to my sister. Yeah. I would never do that. And it's like, yeah, then why are you saying it to yourself? Like, what are we doing? Stop.
We're so hard on ourselves. There's like such a reluctance to, I think, like forgive ourselves for anything. I mean, it's really interesting.
Okay, we have to get to our modern scripture.
Okay. Well, I will say it's very, we might read it and go, oh, we like already talked about that.
Sexy. This is gonna be great.
From The Untethered Soul, which you've read, right?
Yeah, I read it last week.
Yeah, I was last week.
Or was it 2 weeks ago?
Heck. I feel like I knew you read it like recently, but if you read it last week, then I didn't know that you read it recently because I don't think
I might have been 2 weeks ago, but literally like it was a couple of weeks ago.
You just read it.
Yeah. Okay. I think I've read it 1.5 times now just to toot my own horn because I'm a fucking weirdo.
Oh, okay. So you read it again.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to text you the passage just in case you want to look at it.
I'm so happy.
But I'll also do a dramatic reading. Just kidding. Just a regular reading. Okay, so it says creating thoughts, holding on to thoughts, recalling thoughts, generating emotions, controlling emotions, and disciplining powerful inner drives all require a tremendous expenditure of energy. Where does all this energy come from? Why is the energy there sometimes and at other times you feel completely drained? Have you ever noticed that when you are mentally and emotionally drained, food doesn't help that much? Conversely, if you look at the times in your life when you were in love or excited and inspired by something, you were so filled with energy that you didn't even want to eat. This energy we are discussing does not come from the calories your body burns from food. This is a source of energy that you can draw upon from inside. It is distinct from the outer energy source. I guess we didn't really talk about that, but I do feel like it's sort of an extension.
Yeah. I love it. I feel like in this part of the book, I'm not sure if it's the same spot, but I think they go on to talk about like having a breakup or something. And then like you're like in a depressive state. And then what happens if they call you, like you've been like holed up and they call you that day. They're like, hey, I messed up. Let's meet up again. And you have like, okay, I'm ready to go. Yeah, no. Yeah. You literally, I mean, I think I might have actually literally done this. We've been on the phone like, yeah, what's up? Hey, I was thinking we could maybe meet up and talk. Yeah, no, that's great. I don't have like pants, you know what I mean? But like just yeah, I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, and I think of, for some reason I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like when I was in college, I would just stay up so late. Like I would stay up till 4 a.m. Like I lived in New York, so bars didn't close till 4. So we would just literally stay up till they closed and like kicked us out. Or like my friend worked at a bar, so sometimes I would go to bed. I would like go to bed at like 10 or 11. And then I would get up at like 2 and like go back out. And now I'm like in bed at 9. Like I'm like, I'm like, it's 8:45. Okay, I just gotta wait 15 minutes before I can go to bed. And it's like, yeah, like like where is that energy coming from? Like, what is that? It's just like life force. But like, why is it sometimes there, sometimes not? Like, can we conjure it? How much control do we have over it?
That's really, oh man, you're hitting on some stuff that I really enjoy playing with, because I think so much of that I mean, we already know, I think that a lot of what the plays the biggest parts as far as what we believe that we're able to do is our like conscious state of being, who we think we are, what we think we are able to sort of accomplish,
Mm.
right? Like what we're able to do. And a lot of those limitations we kind of create for ourselves um, are just a lot of the time I'm finding like more and more mental blocks. I mean, for example, like I would get in my head like, oh man, if I had to do something late night, like I'm not a night person, like I can't, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Um, and of course, maybe to some degree that is there's some truth in that, but I found that there were also plenty of times where I would get like maybe an audition late night, and
Mm.
I would like be like, oh well, I gotta get this done now. This is the only time I'm not time tomorrow. I gotta just do it. And I, ask Sam, can you just take a nap and get up and do this with me? And she'll be like, okay. And you just get it done.
Mhm.
And as far as that energy, man, I really think we're just way more capable than we think we are when it comes to that kind of shit. And the decision to do something to get something done, a lot of the time the energy is going to show up
Mm.
as needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it really makes me think of, I mean, I think for me, I noticed the biggest difference. Okay, like obviously, if I have like a crush on someone or something like that, like that's like a big energy getter. I'm more likely to like go out, stay out. So, like, that's one thing. But also just in terms of like work or creative projects and passions, it's like how draining it is to like be doing work that you don't want to do, and how it's like so hard to conjure energy for that kind of thing versus conjuring energy for something that is like in alignment with like your goals or your own like personal, like how you feel you're like authentically expressing yourself in the world,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when you said that, it really made me think about what we were talking about earlier
Mm,
with the slowdown.
mm,
I notice when you're not sort of in that hyper attached reactionary
mm,
state, your energy stores are through the roof.
totally.
Like I was talking about this in the on the call the other day, yesterday. It feels like your natural state is this sort of cage or just ball of energy. And when we stretch ourselves internally to kind of try to attach to an expectation or a thought or somebody else's thing or whatever, we stretch ourselves out in all kinds of different directions and kind of sparse our energy out. And simply the act of sort of letting that go
Mm,
and returning to what it is, what's happening right now. And we're talking about the slowdown, slowing down in that way, I think creates a natural sense of presence. And I notice the more present I am throughout the day, the less sleep I need, the less, stimulants
mhm.
I'm taking, because it's like I have a wellspring of energy and there's just no bottom to it as long as I'm not, jumping around like, oh well, I gotta get this done, or have I sent that email, or the more you settle in, it's crazy. Just noticing.
Yeah. And it really is, I'm like so aware of how it can feel so difficult, but at the same time, like it really is available to us all the time because it's really just our thoughts that are keeping us from having that energy. It's like our thoughts are the ones that are attaching to things or resisting uh things that we have to do, or feeling like I hate my job, or whatever it is. And there's always the opportunity to like come back present and like let, like, I liked your motion, like let the tentacles that you have like in everything kind of go and drop away.
Oh, I feel like I totally like took a left on your thing. When you said the job thing, that also brought up like the idea of like, I think there's this sort of myth that doing things that you kind of enjoy doing is all of a sudden just gonna make shit like sunshine and rainbows. Like, oh well, now it's so much easier for me to fucking just exist because I'm doing what I love. And I think it's like that's kissing cousins with sort of your needing your
Mm,
sort of job to be the thing for you.
mhm,
And I found in all tasks, even things that for things that I genuinely just don't want to do, when I am just with that as that, um, the energy is better. And also I'm not looking to that to be the thing for me.
right,
You know what I mean? I think that's
right.
but it's easy. I mean, because like honestly, things you do enjoy doing, yeah, you might have a little. I think that's why it's important to cultivate that because you might have a little more gas to get up. I definitely got a little more gas in the tank to get up and do a YouTube video or something that I do to like you know what I'm saying, do some other things.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm not gonna discount that, but I do think it is worth stating that like there's that. I think it was YouTube. There's a ton of YouTubers like getting like really depressed,
Yeah,
right? And it was just like, I'm supposed to be so happy. I'm living my dreams. It's supposed to be the thing. And it's like,
right. It's not the thing.
it's not the thing.
And I feel like so many celebrities like talk about that too. Well, I
Mhm.
don't know if so many, but
Oh no, I feel like it's pretty
a lot.
universal. Like
Okay.
was that what's the joint Jim Carrey joint? Like I wish everybody got
Totally.
everything they wanted. Like all of the money, all the
Mhm.
fame, all the shit. So you know that ain't it.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's easy
Totally.
to forget sometimes.
Yeah, man.
There have been so many times where I really thought that like I was like I got it. Like I mean, just because it's like it happens so often where you're just like, oh, this is it. This is the thing that's gonna make me so happy. Like I'm gonna, whoo, if I could only just get this one thing, then it'll be it. Then I'll be,
Yeah.
yeah, it's also I think related to waiting for
Mm.
your life to start, waiting for you to show up as your most like waiting for you to show up as you. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll get it. When I get it, then I'll I'll show them just how dope I am. And once I have this much money, once I have this opportunity, once they whatever, like it's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I was reflecting on this too recently. It's so interesting how, like, I mean, I guess it's obvious that the things that we're thinking about are coming up in the conversation, but um the yeah, the desire to find the thing or to find like I think I definitely used to have this like, oh, I'm looking for this thing that will give me lasting happiness, or I'm looking
Mm.
for, I wish I could fully recall like this a sort of realization that I had, but it's escaping me. But essentially just looking for long-term or lasting happiness rather than the continuation of it. And I just, as I said that, like I just had this vision of like the day. Like we never are like, finally, the sun has come up and it'll stay up. You know what I mean? Like that's not the thing. That's not how it works. Like the sun came up and it goes back down and it comes back up and it goes back down. And like that's like the rhythm. Like that's what rhythm is. And even like now I'm on a tangent or like I'm just off. But like even in music, it's like you don't want to just hear, you're not like, oh, I found the perfect notes and I'm just gonna play them like
Mm-hmm.
once and they'll just go on forever. It's like with the silence, with the contrast of the different notes. I'm not a musician. I don't know anything about music, but it's like the dynamics of it that are the thing. It's not ever looking for the perfect thing that lasts. And I guess in some ways music and sound is such a, I think we're like a very visual culture and visions last. Like what you see like stays there, but sound doesn't. Like sound always ends. And
Hmm.
I think that's like a really forgotten, or like it's not as valued or not as prized or not as like thought of, about the the way that sound naturally ends and naturally has silence built into it and kind of comes and goes, because like vision is just static kind of. I mean, obviously things like change, but if you're to like watch a tree for like 3 years or whatever, like it would change. But like me looking at my couch, there's nothing that's like changing in that,
That's super interesting. I thought you were going somewhere completely differently with it, but
Tell
I
me.
no, you were talking about like the sun comes up and it's not like. Well, first I want to address what you said, which is like I think it really is sort of steeped in that nature of attachment, that idea that we want things to kind of want to hold on to the good thing. I want to hold on to this sort of feeling, and I think that's why so many sort of wise folks are always stressing the point of it's not about reaching this sort of blissed out dope state that's whatever,
Totally.
or escaping some sort of low trough. It's about being when things the same you when it's high and low, and being able to show up regardless of the sort of circumstance. But initially what I thought when you said that was the sun comes up, was I was really thinking about good morning today, and how the good morning, good afternoon, and good evening are just the most gangster fucking like things that you could ever say to somebody, because they're not even asking, they're just telling you like it's a good morning. That's it. It's not a fucking question. Yo, that because I was like on the hike today and I was just like good morning, but I just love the declarative power of that, because if you can hear me say good morning regardless of what is happening in your life, regardless of what your because I think about that a lot, that idea of people equating their life situation, as Eckhart Tolle calls it, to who they are in this moment, who you're being. If you can hear me say good morning, it's a good fucking morning. Like, yes. And I was like, yo, what a
I
great
love that.
hitting that, like just hearing that literally every time somebody says that to me was such a grounding and present experience. Cause I was like, somebody just said good. I said good morning kind of nonchalantly. And then somebody's like, yeah, good morning. And I was like, wait.
You're like, good morning. And they're like, yeah, it is.
Exactly. Yo, and I was like, wait, it is a good morning. Fuck. I literally saw all the things that I had to do and the stuff and whatever, but I was like, it's still a good morning. God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. Black
Good all
church,
the time.
shout out. That's a bar, like good morning. But that's where I thought you were going with it first. But I do think it is about letting things sort of fall away. There's a principle in Hermeticism, is like the universal principle of rhythm, and it's everything sort of has a sort of a tide and a rhythm, and being and learning how to sort of move with that, but also realizing that being okay. I think there's something powerful in understanding that those rhythms aren't completely natural. I mean, for me, when I was in any sort of depressive sort of energy, I think shout out to what is that show? Euphoria. They just did these episodes. They did these like special episodes or whatever, and one of them is called Trouble Don't Last Always. And I mean, that's like a little thing that like, mama say all the time, but I think that's a bar. Like, I think when I realized that it was really useful in me not being resistant to where I was if I was in a sort of lower energetic state, and not being like, oh, I gotta be something else, or I gotta ascend to my idea about, where somebody's expecting me to be, which would, if anybody's experiencing any sort of depression, like just makes it worse, because it's like, oh, I just can't do it. Like, I think spending less time trying to figure out how to do something, how to do me, and just realizing that this is what I got today. has
Totally.
allowed me to show up completely differently for all kinds of scenarios, where I used to just turn myself in knots or just lie or go deeper into the sort of lower energy state. Um, and really, it's been really useful in knowing that like the energy will show up as needed. I'm enough right now,
Mm,
even if all I want to do is sit down and watch.
the
Yeah.
Good Place.
The Good Place. Yes, exactly.
Which I just like binged a few weeks ago.
Oh my God, I love you.
And then I saw your post maybe yesterday or today, and you said like robot, and then
Oh,
you're
not
like
a
not
robot.
a robot. And I was
Not a
like,
robot.
I get it because I watched The Good Place. That was like my whole time, like watching that. I literally was like barely worked. Like I wasn't doing like anything productive. Like I was just like all day pretty much like watching this show, which it's like so easy to watch because it's like short episodes. You know what I mean? And I just was having this struggle within myself of literally where I was just like, there's no way, because I went to this like spiritual like seminar thing, and so it's like all in this like whatever thing, and I was just like, there's no way God put me on earth to just watch The Good Place all day for 2 weeks or whatever. And I was like, I honestly was like crying and like feeling so much like guilt and like grief, or I literally was like, there's no, like, why am I taking up like life, life, why would God put me here, like whatever. Which like I also was like, wow, I have like a lot of shit to deal with. I was like, okay. I probably need to like let that go, whatever, like the assumption of needing to be, I'm like, why am I not like a social justice warrior, or like whatever, why didn't I become a lawyer or whatever, like someone to make a big difference in people's lives, and like a tangible difference that everyone can see. That's what I'm always wanting to do.
That's so funny because I was literally talking about that last night in the club. And I was like, you don't know the butterfly effect. You don't know and I guess from this perspective, it's really easy to forget that like when we're in such a sort of externally facing society, it can be very easy to forget that there are so many things that you don't know, that people's lives that you've touched. One of the biggest, most life-changing moments for me was a friend of a friend, an acquaintance whose wedding I was not invited to. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm not invited to your wedding. It's like, I shouldn't have been invited to this person's wedding.
Okay.
A friend of a friend who just gave me, and I was in a very low energetic state at the time, gave me so much kindness and encouragement on a day where I just was, not expecting it, and definitely needed to hear somebody do that. And I can unequivocally say that it had such a profound effect on my life, and he doesn't fucking know.
Totally.
I can't imagine that person sitting around being like, oh man, I wish I could make a bigger impact. Bro, you helped this starfish. You changed my fucking life. You had a massive effect. And I think understanding that you can never really know, I think helps kind of release a lot of that anxiety of thinking that I need to make an impact for like people to fucking see so that people can touch it. Like,
totally. I always want it to be like seeable and tangible and recognized. Like I would like an award and a certification or whatever. But you're totally right. And I went through that too. I had like a very similar experience where I was extremely depressed for like, wait, what are you saying? I want to use your language. You were in a depressive energy.
Oh, I said low energetic state. I like that because
instead of just saying like I was depressed.
Well, like I mean, sure. I mean, I think it just covers it. I'm not trying to be resistant to the idea of depression. I just think that depression porn has become kind of an epidemic, and I want to just. I think a lot of the time we've taken sort of a clinical depression and lumped that in with you just having low energy.
Right.
And I think a depressive state is a very
Mhm.
natural thing. Clinical depression can be all kinds of other shit
Mm.
that may not necessarily be that. Um, I think usually clinical depression involves a sort of low energy, but not all low energy states are necessary clinical depression. So I like
Right.
to preface that and say that I was in like that's why I like saying, yeah, that's all.
Oh, okay. So I maybe was really depressed
Copy
or
that.
I was in
Copy
a
that.
depressive state.
Either way.
Regardless, not in a good place for like a few months. It was after a breakup. So, and I just was like, oh, whatever. I couldn't even like function. And yeah, like someone at the theater would just be like, hey, are you okay? And I didn't even like say any, like, I would just be like, yeah. But like the difference that it made that he like said anything to me or like even like noticed that I was like alive. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like let me get through the day. You know what I mean? Like it really had such a huge impact. And yeah, it's like such a small thing. Like that person like doesn't remember asking like how I am. You know what I mean? It's like such a basic thing. But yeah, I guess we really never know, which is extremely annoying. Notes for God for next time.
You know, you don't know the impact
Yeah.
you're gonna have. And I think that letting that go, and then also just being okay with where you are. But also, look, man, like I was gonna say when you were talking about like watching the good plays and shit, I thought that was interesting because like I definitely will have. I think we probably have a similar energy where we can settle in, and I can like you can't out binge me. Most people can't. Like I'm a pro. Um, and I find if I'm in a hole like that, what's really
Mhm.
helpful to me is leaning in. And I know it
Mhm.
seems counterproductive, but like for me, I think I got it from an Eckhart Tolle joint. He was just like, if you feel like doing this, go all the way into it. Like, and a lot of the times it'll clear itself in amount in a faster than if you were in constant back and forth resistant. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
totally. Yeah, I one time like was binging Mad Men, but
Mm-hmm.
I just was totally in a state of like, this is what I want to do all day, and I'm having the best time. And I just did it, and I had so much energy all day. Like I think after like hours and hours of binging, like I still did like some other work that I had to do or whatever, which normally after binging TV, I'm not like having tons of energy. Like it feels draining, right? But it's probably because I'm like fighting it the whole time. Like I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm watching this, it's what I want to do, but like I'm also feeling guilty, or I'm also feeling like I should be doing something else. And then that like resistance,
It's
like
tight.
it takes so much energy. It's like what this quote is saying is like creating thoughts, holding on to thoughts, recalling thoughts, generating emotions, controlling emotions, and disciplining powerful inner drives all require a tremendous expenditure of energy. Like so true.
yeah, a tremendous expenditure of energy to
Yeah.
even hold those. It's beautiful when you can kind of just let that go and kind of and push into it. I had the exact same thing happen. I watched the first season of Westworld last week, um, and it's only like 9 10 episodes or something. But I literally
Mm.
was. I remember there was a point where I was just kind of resisting it. I was like, I kind of tried to spread it out, and I just really wanted to, and I, whatever. And at some point, I was just like, no, I'm gonna watch Westworld now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. And when I did that, it was like cool. It was so funny because like I was like I watched it with the intention to like binge or whatever. Like I
Mhm.
literally like watched 1.5. I was like, oh, I'm done with this now. Now I'm gonna go do whatever else I was gonna do. And it allowed me to come back to it and kind of see it in the grand scheme of things instead of just letting it be this sort of massive obstacle that I couldn't overcome.
Mhm. I think it's like so the case with so many things. Like now I'm even thinking of like binge eating or something like that, where it's like, oh, I really want to like eat candy or whatever, but it's like, I shouldn't eat candy. But if you just like lean into it, like let yourself eat the candy without any resistance, then you just eat as much candy as you want, you get over it, and then you're done. Like,
I hate the candy. I hate the candy.
I
I'm
hate,
always less indulgent, quote indulgent, when I don't think that I'm being indulgent. When I'm just like, oh, I think there's a really great lecture by Neville Goddard called "Don't Do Violence to Your Desires," doing violence to your desires. And it's based on John the Baptist, and how a lot of John the Baptist's thing, which is I guess something that we're kind of pointing towards here, is the idea of he was kind of an aesthetic, like he aestheticism. He was very he lived in the woods. He ate honey. He wore fur. He was this sort of weirdo, whatever. And a lot of it was him, or rather, he points to the idea of the state of John the Baptist is giving your sort of power away to kind of stuff, and how the Christ consciousness is one of like letting go of the stuff, which is why John is like, there will come one that is greater than me. And I don't even know how that ties into this, but to some degree, I think it reminds me of that idea of sort of resistance. I think if you're thinking that the stuff that you're sort of resisting is in some way supposed to kind of give something to you, I guess if you're in a state of resistance, it is in some way declaring that you think that the thing is going to be the thing that makes you happy. You know what I mean? Like, I think all resistance is kind of steeped in that idea that I need the thing outside of me to do it for me, to some degree. And I think just being okay with what is and moving from that sort of state of acceptance is really a complete and total paradigm shift to that idea.
Totally.
Yeah.
There were so many things. I'm trying to like hone in on what I really wanted to respond to. But I think just all of what you're saying is like so profound, and like not doing violence to your desires and just like letting yourself be. I mean, it goes back to pace too, right? Let yourself be slow if you're slow. And let yourself be fast if you're fast. Like, people move at different paces, and it's just like astonishing, I guess, how many ways we like try to control and alter ourselves, I guess. Like in everything that we do. And the acceptance, and just like totally like radically accepting everything that is like about us and about, you know, the outside world is the antidote, right? I mean,
I think there's the fear though that we won't be able to like function right in different spaces, because a lot of the time we're dealing with spaces that feel like we don't have any control in. And I think that's really a big challenge for folks, is like, okay, well, you know, I got this like job that I gotta do these things for. Like, where's my fucking pace there? It's gotta be whatever. But almost paradoxically, discovering your pace in any job, I think I've done this, especially, you know, if you've ever worked in food service, actually, I think understanding how your pace works is gonna serve you better when working with any sort of somebody else's pace. Understanding that how I listen to somebody to take an order is going to be different than how you do that. And me trying to do it like you is not going to serve me the same way. So I feel like the trick is realizing, even within structures where things need to happen in a certain amount of time in a certain type of way, there's still space for you to show up as you at your own pace.
Yeah. That's so beautiful.
Okay, we'll stop there then. I feel like time flew, and I looked up and I was like, oh my God, it's 8:20. We gotta
wrap it up.
Oh man. Sarah.
It was so good. I feel like I'm like, I want to just have I want all the pieces that we talked about to like fuse into my brain.
Right, but that's the nature of what we were talking about, though.
No,
but like it really is. We definitely want to do this. We want to hold on to sort of the attachment of that. I think the freedom comes with the knowing that it's already there, and it's just going to show up as needed. The energy, the
Mm.
being, the knowledge, that state of whatever is you.
Mhm.
And you can't ever really be separate from it. So you have a unique opportunity to just let it go and know that it's going to show up in every way and everything that you are.
Oh.
You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
I love this. Thank you everyone for wait, was there more things that people wanted to say? This is why I always let people know how much they've helped me and thank them. Maybe
Yeah,
one day
definitely.
that knowledge help them to know that in the future. Oh, Sonia's crying like me. We're all crying.
Thank you all so much for being here today. Thanks for joining me and Sarah today on the Spiritual Friendz podcast. Thank you, TikTok. Thank you, YouTube.
Thank
everybody.
you, God, Jesus Christ.
Thank you, God, Jesus, everybody. Yeah, man, this has been really, really fun, Sarah. Thanks for rocking today.
Thank you for rocking today.
Yeah, man. I guess I'll lead us out with our music again, but it has to just play. Playing more music. Wait, I lost it. I lost where it is, so I don't know if I can do it again. Never mind, man.
You'll get it again next week.
Wait, no, I got it. Wait, and then I'm gonna move it like. Okay. Wait, I moved to a weird place in the song. It's kind of over. Yeah, this is calm. Just
turn playing.
Thank y'all so much for joining us on the Spiritual Friendz podcast. I am David.
I'm Sarah.
Good night, y'all.